Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this edition of my serial podcast. Every single day is medication take back day. You don't have to wait for, the two events that the DEA has every year now. You can take your expired, unused medications and drop them off at your local CVS or Walgreens. All you got to do is jump onto Google, type in medication disposal near me. I'll even show you how easy that is and the results, and I'll talk to you about that real quick. So medication disposal near me, and you start getting the results of what you have around you. In my instance, it's just stuff in Jacksonville, all of that. There is talk of the DEA's take back program and your options there. There are some permanent sites. The DEA used to only do the takebacks once a year, and that's not enough given how much is pumped out into our communities every single day. Only doing it once a year seems a little counter to all that. Like, oh no, it's okay, you just have all that stuff hanging around. And for some of it, okay, sure, fine. But especially with the opioids, getting that out of the house and not keeping it around is how you prevent unintentional overdoses or intentional ones. It's how you prevent this cycle of addiction that we seem to have in our country. It's because when we're, kids and we get into stuff that we shouldn't for whatever reason, we we experience it. If we, make it through. The DA moved to two, and now with more and more collection sites being out there, it is easy enough to simply take what you haven't used and drop it off. Some of your prescriptions can be flushed for certain reasons. Drugs that contain opioids are on that list. Like, you can flush Vicodin. You can flush looks like Oxycontins and Percocets and all those other kinds of things. So they did okay, yeah. There's a list on the flushable list, risks associated. Because hey, we do want to take that into consideration. How are we impacting the environment when it comes to this? So, a few select prescription drugs can be especially harmful and in some cases fatal with just one dose when not used as prescribed. Yeah, one pill can kill. One fentanyl patch can kill. It is a thing. It does happen. It's not so much the sense that like the whole world's going to end because we're not locking up our meds. I'm not coming from that kind of side of things, but it definitely is impacting our country, our communities. So making sure that we get this stuff out of our homes where people get into this stuff the better off we are. Going back to what is the risk? What what is going to happen if you can't make it back to one of these disposal locations? Um, like if you don't have a CVS near you or anything like that. But the goal of to evaluate the ecological and human health risks associated with the environmental release of the 15 active pharmaceutical ingredients. See, why are you calling them APIs? Like my programmer brain is like, oh, it's an application programmable interface. Okay. No. Even when highly conservative assumptions are used, including that the entire mass supplied for clinical use is flushed, all relevant sources. Most of these APIs present a negligible ecotoxicological risk, both as individual and compounds and as a mixture. For a few of these, additional data will need to be developed. Okay. And using similar conservative assumptions, all of them present negligible risk through ingestion of water and fish. Okay, right. That kind of shows you that if you don't currently have a need for those old opioid prescriptions, you can get them out of the house. You can take them to any of these disposal locations. You can ultimately flush them down the toilet if you don't have the means to make them unappealing when you throw them out, like mixing them with cat litter or something else like that, so that people will not be inclined to dig through the trash and take the pills. You can flush them down the toilet to just get them out of the house and away from anyone that might accidentally or intentionally ingest them. It's not something that we have to like get too hung up about either. Just get it out of the house. The environmental impact is negligible. To what extent does that mean? Like how many fish are going to die from it, or what have you? It doesn't say, but it is saying that it's a negligible risk. It can be something that you do. There's no cost to it. And it's better than the alternative of, ending up in an ER or worse. So it's no point not doing that. But otherwise, yeah, take it back. I am working on an idea. I've got extra magazines that you might see right here. These Fat Nug magazines, and I've got some extra bags. And I might say, hey, folks, if you want a free magazine and a free bag, then go and snap a selfie at a disposal place and be like, hey, I went and took my stuff back, and I'll take a free bag and mag. And the other thing is, well, given that this stuff should be available for free to everyone, and the people that want to give it away for free have difficulty getting public interest, then I've gone ahead and thrown up a spot on my website where people can order free medication lock boxes or locking bags. Got to flesh out that product page for different options, so that yeah, we can track things a little bit more granularly if this idea kicks off. I haven't done any advertisement for it, and I've already gotten 2 orders. 2 people have already signed up for this new social contract where if you get it for free, you're gonna lock your stuff up. That's what that's what I'm going to be pushing anyway. Is that this is a new social contract, and that we all have to make this concerted effort ourselves. We all have to come together through our own volition to make this happen. And how better can you signal or facilitate that than on a e-commerce website, have that big fat zero right there. It's not going to cost you anything other than, yeah, you got to go down to your local event and talk with those people there to get it for free. That's the goal. That is the idea. And yeah, in rural areas, it's possible to partner with retailers that could have more of a reach and make something like this available through them, and or ship it, because there are already coalitions that are out there where they paid however much to get this stuff shipped to them, and then they take it and ship it out to somebody else. So it's getting shipped multiple times. That's an inefficient supply chain. Got to tighten it up. And so if, say I were to partner with Ace Hardware or something like that, then somebody could go down to their local Ace, get a box, be like, yeah, I don't know, here's a coupon that the coalition gave me. Now I've got it for free, and I picked it up at a hardware store. Well, these boxes come with pre-drilled holes to make mounting easier, but not everything works for every situation. So I could see people needing to go down to their local Ace anyway, if that is a thing for those folks. But it's just, hey, ideas thrown around. Hey, what more can the private sector do to help public health and the public in general? There's room for improvement out there, I would say. And well, last stat that I had for opioids was 140 million prescriptions a year, and that's after the drawdown. So there was the overprescribing that happened for however long, and then people were looking around going, oh, well, this is what happens when you overprescribe, and let's stop kind of prescribing altogether in a way. I know that I've talked with folks that feel like it, and I know that there were times where, like, I have had gallbladder surgery, right? I had my gallbladder removed. I don't fit the profile for somebody to have had gallbladder surgery, but yeah, there it was. And when I was in immense pain in the ER in Southern Oregon, it was there on the doctor's face. It was there in the receiving ER people and everything. Like, this person's just a drug seeker. Like, yeah, I'm doubled over in pain with like snot coming out of my nose and everything. I'm just, and you know what? Maybe there are pill seekers out there that go to those extremes, but for regular everyday people who are in pain that are then treated that way, it's not a good thing. But anywho, there has been a reduction in those rates, but there's still 140 million. And if the stat of 5% of people prescribed an opioid develop an issue, then that's a lot of new issues developing every year. Like every single year that we are continuing to say, yes, we are going to prescribe this stuff and put this out into our communities, is another year we're saying we're going to allow this many more people to develop these issues. And it's a compounding thing. What do you do? What do you can't, again, I don't see us moving away from prescribing opioids altogether unless some compound comes around that has the same sort of effects without the side effects of it being an addictive substance. Yeah, what you gonna do? Well, lock it up for one, of course. Keep it up away out of sight. Talk to your kids about medications. Let them know, like, yeah, this isn't special juice or happy pills or just supplements or vitamins or anything like that. This is specific things that are prescribed by a doctor in certain cases. I mean, maybe supplements, not always. Then again, I've also seen a study where supplements don't really do anything. Which, was it a meta study or like, I don't know. But whatever that stuff is, yeah, lock it up, keep it up away out of reach of kids. Been talking with more and more folks who have kids of varying ages, smaller usually. And they're like, oh, well, they're so small they can't get up on the counter yet. They might be an age thing or a height thing, because there's some tall toddlers out there that can move chairs around and all sorts of things and in an instant. And I don't really remember what my thought process was at 1.5 or 2 years old. If I planned my schemes in advance, like, oh, when mom leaves the room, I'm going to get up and run over, grab that chair, slide it up against the freaking stove, and then burn my hands. Like, that's going to be not intentionally, but that's kind of stuff that happens in the home, right? Kids just, is it just, it's, I think, an impulse, probably. And, as a 1.5-year-old or a 2-year-old, you're not going to have good impulse control at, like, right? You're going to stick the fork in the light socket. You're going to do all that different things that we try to safeguard against, as adults trying to protect children. We do things like the protective covers, putting locks on things, foam corners on edges. There's a laundry list of things that we do. And this is just another one of those things of, safe medication storage and making sure that kids can't get into it. And, with that, like, it extends to other things, other substances and whatnot that kids, shouldn't be getting into. It's not some exhaustive list. You can't just sit there and always rattle it off or anything. It's because it's always changing. Because we're always coming up with new stuff. Whether, good or bad or, whatever. Try to think that it's within the inherent good of ourselves. Like with the 2018 Farm Bill and how that opened up a gray area, a kind of legal loophole for unethical or bad actors or what have you, that they then go around and push things out into the market that the market's not really even asking for, and the majority of people who encounter images of these products are like, what the hell is that? Like, no responsible cultivator or dispensary or whatever would ever put out a product like that. And in case you're wondering what I'm talking, like, one of those products are these like multicolored moon rocks. They're called moon rocks that are uh, cannabis flower rolled in hash oil and then covered in, like, I'm assuming it's a covered in a colored keef being like the powder that comes off of the flower. um they're like neon blue or neon green or pink and purple and like all these unnatural colors. Is there a market for that? Like, are people actually out there buying that stuff? Because I mean, I never would, and the folks that I've talked to about it like wouldn't, and they're repulsed. But there's got to be a market for it if people are going through the effort of even like creating the stuff in, the bulk quantities that I've seen. That, and you're like, how well, one, I'm not sure if it was a recreational state or if it was just a state that had medical, or a state with like, yeah, that the farm bill loopholes, and it was like maybe a, a hemp flower, right? So it's a CBD flower with then like not like a delta 9 THC, but maybe it was like a delta 8 THC thing. There's loopholes out there, and of course in its raw form it doesn't meet the classification of, you know it being banned or whatever. And then there's so many like things with the current legal state that allow for stuff like that to exist. And whether it should or shouldn't, I think like properly regulated free market, that kind of stuff wouldn't exist because you wouldn't be able to sell it alongside the natural alternatives, something that isn't all dyed and weird and rolled in whatever. There's ways to approach all this different stuff responsibly, but I'm going to leave with this, and that is that every single day is medication take back days. If you have leftover medications, get it out of the house. Next time you're presented with a prescription for an opioid, can reconsider needing to even fill that prescription. Just because you got that script, that piece of paper from the doctor, does not mean that you have to fill it. If you don't need it, don't fill it. And at the end of the day, if you don't have proper means of disposal, this opioid epidemic and overdose crisis is enough where I would say to just flush it down the toilet, get it out of your house so that others can't get into it. Thank you so much. And tomorrow I'm going to be talking about entrepreneurship as prevention, or entrepreneurship is prevention.